All right, we are recording. Lucky session number 13. Would anyone like to do a retelling of the previous session?
Previous as in last week or the last time?
I think both are relevant, really. But I'll do a review of like the last time these characters were played. Unless you want to.
I don't think I honestly remember where they ended up. I'm trying to think about last week also.
The last time these characters were played, because we're going to be playing as the druids today, they were trying to stop a druid named Uthalor who had gone rogue and was going to try to breach a dam in a river and cause the river to flow into an oncoming group of Imperials who were on their way to a diplomatic meeting. He was, everyone thought, was going crazy with claims that the Imperials were up to no good and going to try to destroy everyone. And you guys stopped him. In an epic battle, you fought him to a standstill. You removed the magic rock that seemed to be driving him mad and empowering him. And in so doing, the rock exploded. But fortunately, one of your members was a priestess of Istus, the goddess who weaves the fates, and she teleported you to her realm in the plains, where you guys met her proxy, and the druid among you who worshipped her is going to stay with her, but the rest of you are going with her proxy to try to find the spirit of Uthalor and find out what the heck was going on, what was up with that rock, and it's worth noting that these characters do not know about the events that took place afterwards with the Imperial delegation. These characters are only aware that they were in a fight with Uthalor, he had a magic rock, it somehow exploded, and now you guys are looking to find his spirit. Do you recall what happened last session with the other characters, in case it's relevant?
I'm trying to remember where we started. So I believe we started by giving testimony. And if we started there, then I think I know where. I know. So we each gave testimony on what happened on the Prime World. Call me out if I use terminology. And then we kind of all went separate ways to do work or gather info. And this led to us, we're now waiting. We got like a time leeway thing for records and stuff to be put into, or for things to be put into records. So then we went off to the Beastlands, and then we had a few interesting situations there. Some people traveled by bag and log, some people traveled by being the water itself, and some people traveled by leaf after running away from panthers, or scaring off panthers rather. And we did all this seeking someone there, and I believe we found him having a discussion with I don't remember what the thing.
Modron is what it's called. Basically, a lawful robot.
A
We met.
robot?
Yeah, we met. We met the guy that was looking for his cousin, because it's the guy. That's the guy we're looking for. We're not looking for because he's looking for his cousin. That's why he's here. But we're looking for him. That's looking for his cousin. But we probably will need to help find his cousin because of the cult that was started by a rogue Modron. Because normally
Okay.
Modrons are like very lawful, and like they usually stay on Mechanicus, but sometimes their programming goes awry. I know. I played a Modron in a campaign before. It was fun.
All right. Now, Ed, I believe I don't have a character sheet for you, but I believe you were playing some kind of a ranger. Was that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. I have like 3 stats. They were like sneaking, shooting people with bows, and like outdoorsmanship, exploration, survival type thing.
Okay. Do you want to stick with that, or do you want to play as a priest and/or priestess of Istus? Spider priests, but like nice spider priests.
Still creepy.
Well, I guess I can play as a priestess of Istus. Are we nice? What does a nice spider priest entail? That's not part of my vocabulary, really.
So Istus is a representation of the 3 fates, the Mother, Maiden, and Crone. In the particular incarnation of Istus, she's represented as 3 spiders that weave the web of fate. Very, very true neutral, really.
Okay, yeah, I can go with that.
Alternatively, too, you could just play as any random person that they encounter along the adventure, but that's who's there in the Garden of Istus. Spider people are abundant. And so the poor ranger, I'm sure, will stay there, being way out of his depth in the afterlife. Technically, however, you guys are not actually dead. You were teleported rather than killed and sent to the afterlife. So you guys are technically still alive. All right. As a priestess of Istus, you have a sense that it is your fate to journey to the Beastlands. There is a portal that heads in that direction. Istus's proxy has indicated that the web leads you there in search of an expert to help you locate and advocate for the soul of Uthalor. And that advocate will be found in its rightful place in the Beastlands. A portal key has been provided, and you open a portal to the Beastlands. As druids, being surrounded by so much nature is fine. Like, you guys really don't have any particular issues here. Let's see, Fendel, you find that the barrier between yourself and your beast forms is much thinner, so you don't necessarily need to pay casting costs to become a beast. You need to pay them to stop being bestial. The flow is different here. And yeah, growing trees are just everywhere. So as a kinetic Terra, this is just a beautiful place for soil and lush foliage.
We have a kinetic in planes.
Yeah, you have a kinetic with domains of dirt, trees, plants, and storms.
That is dangerous as shit.
Yeah. And arbor kinetic.
Oh,
I have no idea what that means, but it sounds like bad stuff.
Well, that's your character, isn't it?
It is, but I don't know what he's worried about a kinetic in the thing, and
there are no elements in the planes. There is no dirt, water, air, fire in the outer planes. They don't exist. The entire outer planes is belief. In the inner planes, you'd be ultra powerful because that's only fire.
Well, he's not an elemental kinetic.
Pure reality.
He's
still.
He's an ascetic druid.
Yeah.
So he's not.
Dirt doesn't usually talk back to you or think for itself. That's the main.
No, but his connection has always been with the spirit of dirt to begin with.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
He's not a lithokinetic. He's a druid.
Okay.
All right. Emerging through the portal, which is formed by a tree which fell against another tree, you step out into rich, lush forest. The occasional beam of light shines down in a golden hue. Animals can be heard all throughout. Bird song, the chirps of squirrels, the skitter of lizards in the brush. Deep and far away, there's the howl and a slight growling sound. Things on the hunt.
this looks like such a beautiful place. You have a powerful friend there that was able to get us to wherever we are.
A sound of crashing underbrush and many hooves hitting upon soil is coming in your general direction. You haven't yet gotten a grasp on which way is which yet here. Cardinal directions aren't immediately apparent in the deep wood. Bursting through the underbrush, a herd of antelope, or an antelope-like creature, but much, much taller, comes crashing through. The alpha in their lead with large display of antlers in a glowing blue crystal, but otherwise it looks like a normal antelope. The rest of the herd following behind it do not have crystal antlers. They appear to be normal. They dance through the small area where the portal has emerged. It's not really a clearing. There's just slightly less underbrush here. And they continue on their journey, following an old and often used game trail that they bounce through with ease. Did anyone want to do anything, or are you just going to watch the majesty of their passage? They are quite beautiful.
Terra just he like kneels down as he gets wrecked, just is astounded by the area, and as he picks up a little bit of dirt, and it's like, I guess we're gonna need sort of an eye view of this area, and he'll sort of tap the ground for a moment and have a shoot of dirt come underneath him, shoot up into a sort of a tower so he can see around the area.
All right, you want to rise up above the trees. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes.
Okay. The trees go up a very, very long way, so you'll be out of sight for a bit, but on your way up, you pass what appears to be a chimpanzee in a loincloth with a spear, crouched in the trees above your party. And then you're past it and off up into the upper brush, where you see forest for miles. But a bit of ways, in a direction you're not sure of yet because the sun is directly overhead, you do see a cliff with sparkling waterfalls crashing down a 3,000-foot drop. You're somewhere below the cliff and pretty far away, but it's a very beautiful sight, the sun sparkling off of the spray of water. Meanwhile, down below,
I'm watching the majesty of the of the new environment.
as the last of the giant antelope jump past, the very last one at the tail end of it is set upon from above by what looks like a chimpanzee in a loincloth with a spear, who drops down upon it like a dragoon in a Final Fantasy game, stabbing it directly through the neck and bringing it down dead. To your great
I smile and clap.
The chimpanzee mutters a simple prayer to the antelope, thanking it for the fine meal, and then begins trying to pick it up, having a little trouble, drags it a little ways, and then a second chimpanzee comes out from the underbrush and begins to help it. They're struggling a bit. It's huge compared to them. One of them says, "Quickly, we must get it off the game trail. There will be other predators hunting them."
I'm happily watching and clapping.
One of them turns and points to them,
Grand
like,
show.
those? Are those predators? And the chimpanzee drops the antelope and turns to face you with its spear out.
I say, I am no predator, but I am no prey.
Is he? What does he look like? What does Ed's character look like? Just out of curiosity.
Can I just do this?
Yeah, just do it.
I'm like a 5'2" tiny blonde girl. I kind of look like I just stumbled out of a like bizarre high fantasy setting in which I'm the princess that needs. And I have a general look. Yeah, I look like a cross between that and Tiny Tina. But for the most part, I'm basically I'm kind of just like looking out over the. I have sort of a wide-eyed, just a look of amazement on my face all the time, even when I'm like doing mundane things. It's as if I know something that you don't, and I'm seeing something that you can't.
Got it.
Are you wearing any religious iconography on you? Do you have a spell key, for example?
I guess.
Okay.
What would be my symbol? Well, so I'm wearing
3 spiders is the traditional symbol. Also, 6 dots in a circle is considered a symbol of Istis. Each pair of dots is the pair of pincers that the spider has bitten you by.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what was your answer?
I have 8 dots. I don't have any obvious holy symbols. I have 8 dots on my forehead. And 8 dots on each of my palms.
Okay. 8 instead of 6, right?
The eyes of the spiders.
Oh, okay. So you have 3 sets of 8 dots.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
one on my forehead and one on each palm.
The head chimpanzee pointing a spear at you takes a moment to look at those and then raises its spear and kneels and turns to its companion and says, "Kneel. We're in the presence of a priestess of Istus. What fate for us has the goddess spun?" he asks.
It's like, the spiders do not speak of your fate. Fate is your fate is of your choosing, unless you wish to know it. If you know it, then it is not of your choosing. Be careful what you ask for.
He sort of stands up, nods, says, "Thank you," and then he resumes trying to drag the carcass out of the path.
I say, I can tell you this: you will have a good meal tonight.
You do hear a ape-like chuckle as works on getting the carcass off the path. Says, "As thanks for my choice, I will I offer you to share in the feast. Our village is not far."
I would be honored, I say.
The closer you guys get to the ape village, the more of these chimpanzee creatures come out to help carry the carcass, until eventually there's 5 of them just with it up over their shoulders, and they're not having much issues. Moving along the ground is not an easy thing for them, but they're managing it. But in the trees, they are very agile. And so new apes come to help and break off to do other things very rapidly. The village itself, while partially on the ground for their fire pits and things, is mostly housing up in the trees, made out of bent pieces of wood, and very careful carving into the tree itself. They do seem to have taken care not to injure the trees in any way. Interestingly, not everyone in this village is an ape. There are, up in the higher branches, you see what look like very large, they're kind of like birds, but they have very human-looking faces. Their noses come to beaks, but they have hands with fingers sort of protruding out from under their wings. The chief of the village is, of course, friendly, as you walk with a representative of a goddess that they don't exactly worship, but they respect as an integral part of life itself. And
yeah, when I see the chief, I bow my head and raise my palms with the traditional greeting.
He mirrors your greeting, and yeah.
I say, the fates watch you.
I assume so. Did you want to come down and follow them?
Oh yes, I don't want to be by myself in this place.
Okay. It's a very pretty view up there, but yeah. So eventually you come down and find that they're wandering with apes. Eventually, after pleasantries and ceremonies, they cook the food and begin to share it. The bird people come down as well. And yeah, it seems to be sort of a symbiotic relationship going on, to some extent, between these bird creatures and the chimpanzee tribe. They all speak the same language, and they're all enjoying the feast. Eventually, conversation comes around to the simple question, so what brings you to our village?
What were we seeking?
I believe that
Uthalor.
was
Person?
You are
Yes, I
seeking
believe-
the druid Uthalor.
yes, we're seeking a druid named Uthalor. Point over like this our lovely Compregia over their friend helped us get here to come over here to find the druid Uthalor. We're hoping to what do we need him for again?
Uthalor died. You're looking for his soul so you can ask him about the stone that he was using.
Okay. So we're looking for his spirit to speak to him.
Yeah, the chieftain shrugs says, I've never met anyone specifically by that name. Druids do come through here. There's a place they used to visit to the north. He sort of points in a direction. So maybe, let's see. Trying to find his name here. Maybe Andrew can take you there. He refers to the chimpanzee that you saw kill the antelope. Andrew looks a little bit nervous, like he doesn't necessarily want to go in that direction, but he nods to Chief and says, if that is your will, then that's the way I'll walk.
It would be very sit down. Thank you for the help, Andrew. I am enjoying these lands. I can feel the dirt on the ground and the smoothest of the trees. This place is amazing.
He nods and says, that's what drew me to it. After all my wanderings, this is finally a place I feel at home. The chief then reveals that Andrew is not a native of the village. He is a traveler that came here from a distant land, but has chosen to stay. To note, Andrew does look very much like all the other apes here.
Are these are we from the Prime World?
Well, obviously you're not, but the other druids are.
I see. What about this guy?
This guy doesn't look like he's a prime. You're talking about the Andrew?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a monkey now, but
He's a monkey now. He looks like he probably used to be some kind of adventurer and just fell in love with the Beastlands and became a monkey. Yeah. Became a chimpanzee.
Finding your purpose is always useful and always rewarding. You can't resist your purpose.
He looks down at his hands as though he's remembering them being shaped differently, but then smiles. There's no regret in him.
That's good. Then the winds of change blow us this way, and I look off in the distance towards where he...
Later at night, when many of them have climbed up the trees and gone to bed, Andrew still tends the fire. He comments as, I am hesitant to take you that way. You should know that has, for ages since before this village was ever founded, been an odd place.
Is it the same way as Great Waterfall, may I ask? 'Cause I took a little view around the area. It's many forests, but there was one thing I saw that was out of place.
It is not quite that far, but it is in that direction.
Why are you hesitant, my child? I look like I'm probably 15.
It's not a darkness there, not exactly, but it's a feeling that there should be something present that's missing. Like there's a hole in the woods.
We should fill this hole.
Yeah, his eyes light up at that. Like it's a new idea he'd never really thought of. Perhaps we can.
Hesitation is a momentary lack of faith.
Tara chuckles at the word faith.
They do make places up in the trees for you to sleep. So a couple of the chimpanzees double up for the night to create an empty dwelling. And yeah, you have a relatively uneventful rest. As the morning light bathes the forest in its golden rays, you are once again up and ready for travel. Andrew is accustomed to traveling through the trees themselves when he can, but recognizing that you guys are not necessarily capable of that, he'll try to stay to the ground if you want to. Or you guys can attempt traveling through the trees the way he does, branch by branch.
Like look around, smiled, sort of like it's like I do not know what my capabilities in this new area are. I'm going to sort of like as I'm going to attempt to like have us go like to where the branches are and have the branches sort of swerve out so they go to the next tree and sort of like make a walkway plank. But once I'm back, once I walk off of it, it sort of goes back to its normal spot, so we can follow him.
Each tree greets you like the old people that are always in the beginning of a Walmart. They're doing their job because you told them to, and they respect you as part of their process. But really, it's just a job to them. They're not particularly happy that you exist.
I do thank every tree as I go along. Yeah. Maybe leave a little bit of residual energy to like spruce them up a little bit.
Okay, make a roll. This is your potential.
How are we considered tax-wise, by the way? Because we were taxed from that event before.
Oh, the rest in the village is quite comfortable. You guys can all recover 6 tax.
I don't even know what my stats are, but I'm just gonna go with the
Yeah. Assume that whatever supernatural abilities you have as a priestess are basically Tila Brown powers.
Cool.
And then domain gives me threshold, or is it just I can be able to cast those spells at the regular pace?
Yeah, the domain means you don't have any penalties when trying to do those spells. You'll need mastery to start getting bonuses. Is that too? Oh no, wait, that's from last week. I saw the right number of dice. I thought it was yours.
Luther is asleep.
Oh yeah.
So we're traveling through a set of trees.
He would like to. He's more comfortable that way. He's willing to go to the ground if you want to, but he says there's an abundance of predators on the ground. It's safer in the trees.
Let's see. Who's all with us at the moment? Is it just us four?
Yep. It's Andrew, the two druids, and yourself. And in theory, Max's druid is shadowing you guys somewhere off camera so that he can jump in if he shows up.
Yeah, I was just trying to look at channeling. Channeling is after I can add more dice to it, right? I think that's what it is.
That sounds right.
If you were continually using it?
No, because I'm an improvisation druid, so if I fail, I can spend spend the stuff to. I think that's what we've been doing. With channeling, I've been spending energy to add more dice to it to actually succeed.
You have channeling? This is Terra, right?
Yeah, Terra.
Oh, you put it in Savant, but you never put it. Okay, I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because it tends to give you takes away points when you put it in the flow thing. So
Okay, esoteric channeling. Yeah, you may pay or you may tax esoteric potential to gain bonus dice to any test that involves an esoteric power. If you also have mastery in the domain, you may pay the tax after you roll the dice. To just add, like, you can wait to see if you fail, basically.
Oh, I need a mastery before that. Oh, no, wait, no, I can pay. So I have to pay first to get extra dice if I really need it. And then if I fail, I can pay extra mana to add more bonus if I have mastery.
If you have that domain. It doesn't necessarily require mastery now because you can have a mastery. Well, it does, but traits count as domains. So if you have a trait in like dirt or whatever.
Yeah.
I need to revise that for potential.
I have traits well-rooted, bark worse than bited branches into new ideas. Yeah, 2 successes.
Okay, so you succeed. The trees bend to your will. They appreciate the little extra energy left behind. Not that they really need it, as this place is just flowing with nature energy everywhere. Troy, are you going to try and do something to stay in the branches?
Yeah. Did you say basically when I use my stuff, I just immediately happens, and then when I'm gonna undo it, that's how I would pay for the.
Yes. So in this place, you will not be paying the costs to become animal-like. Instead, you will pay costs to try and become human again. Since your stuff is scholastic, it always works. So it's not as this is more flavor than function, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fun though. Yeah, the most applicable thing I have is cat's feet, so I will transform my. I don't know if it was just my feet. I'm assuming yes.
I mean, your down on 4 hooves thing basically turned you into a 4-legged animal.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember if cat's feet did the same thing. I can't remember what I did when I described it, but I think it's just transforms my feet into hinged legged, like back bending cat leg, large feline legs. And then I start jumping into the trees, or I get ready to jump in the trees and check to see if I need to offer assistance, considering we have someone on the ground.
All right, it looks like the effect of cat's feet is that it will increase all of your acrobatics rolls by 3 successes, which is going to effectively be automatic succeeding for this test. But you may make your acrobatic roll anyway to see if you have extra successes to loan to the last member of the party. Ed, what is her role here? Does she want to stay on the ground and risk predators, or climb through the trees with the rest of them?
If we are to go through the trees, then I shall go through the trees.
Cool. Going through the trees is, of course, an acrobatics test. Did you want to use any abilities to do that, Ed, or do you want to rely on the assistance of your comrades?
I mean, I'm not sure I have any abilities. Well, I mean, okay, yeah. So I give a prayer to the spider goddess, to help me cling to the trees.
Okay. Yeah. So you have an easy time clinging to them, and it's just a matter of jumping from branch to branch successfully.
Okay. I don't know what my acrobatics is, but let's say I am going to make some roll. I'll roll I probably have a decent agility, I guess. So health session.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can narrate that.
Yeah, so I move over to the tree and just place my hand gently on it, and then just begin scaling the tree. I'm not actually clinging to anything. I'm just climbing up it like spider. And then my jumps are awkward, but generally successful, and I seem to stick to the bark.
All right. So all of you, along with Andrew, managed to move through the trees uneventfully. You pass over places that look like predators may be waiting in ambush below, but there's no incidents. And by midday, you come to what we're going to call the clearing. It's not, again, a lot of cleared trees. It's just kind of a space where a little bit of grass is growing around a stone chair. It's on just a little raised circular dais in the forest. The trees are no more than like 20, 30 feet away, but there's a big hole in the upper brush, and light is shining down on this throne. Standing in front of the throne, examining it, is a very confused-looking metal cube on feet with tiny little wings behind it, spindly arms that appear to be clockwork mechanisms, little grabber tools on the ends of them that imitate hands. It spins around hearing your approach. It says, "Oh, my goodness. Are you here to hunt me?" Andrew says to you, he's like, "This is the place. It's a place of strangeness where weird events occur. It's an old place." The little Modron says, "Yes, very old. Tens of thousands of years old, I would wager." Begins like sort of scuttling around the chair, taking measurements, occasionally popping out from behind it to make sure you guys aren't about to hunt it. It has a small measuring tape. It's measuring the height and width of the chair.
I am not here to hunt you, little one. I do not hunt. My prey comes to us.
What exactly is that anyway? Is that chair important or something?
He looks up and says, "Oh, that's not for me to judge. I am to examine, to gather as much understanding as I can, and report back. That is my duty."
Report back where? How far from this little dingy of area?
Well, as a quadrant, I report to my pentadron. Of course. Obviously.
A what? Report to a what?
I'm sure it's far beyond your understanding. Think of it as my boss. I have a boss, and I report to my boss. Just as I'm sure you report to something. You must report to something.
Everyone reports to something, I say.
Indeed, he says, smiling and nodding.
Even your pentadron.
Oh, yes. Though, I've never been able to communicate with something so magnificent. That's why it's important to have a boss. Somebody who can talk to the things above that you can't comprehend.
I love Modrons.
Yeah. Indeed, I know what it's like, as my boss is just the force of nature itself. It is sometimes hard to understand.
Yes, yes, you can give it many names, but a boss is a boss. The Modron does not seem satisfied with the measurements, and keeps redoing them. So he may just be here for a little while. You guys are free to do whatever you want to do.
I'm gonna observe the quadrant.
So you said this is where we possibly could find the spirit, or someone that might know about the spirit?
That is what Istus's proxy said, that there would be somebody out here that could help you find the spirit.
Do you think it's this little? Do you think it's this little tin box that is, or it might be someone else?
So far, I do not think so. We look around and see if there's anything else.
There's an incredible amount of forest. There is the stone chair. There is the Modron examining the stone chair. Up above is sky and sunlight. The trees here are hundreds of feet tall, magnificent and beautiful, rich golden bark, bright green leaves. The underbrush is thick, except here in this little clearing, where the light shines down and perfectly illuminates this throne. The Modron has put away his measuring tape and taken out some pieces of parchment and a piece of charcoal and is doing rubbings. Apparently there's something engraved on the stone that he's trying to create copies of.
I kneel down and raise my left hand.
Okay.
Which is the hand of the past. And I want to touch the chair and examine its thread.
The past goes back a long time. It just keeps unwinding. An empty chair sitting here for what seems like eons, just incredible amounts of time. There is a shining light somewhere in the distant end, somewhere in its deep past, in which it was not an empty chair. but it's very, very far away. You're going to want to make a roll with your supernatural ability to see if you can get to that point in time. Are you trying to figure out how long ago it was, or what the condition was at the time?
I'd like to know why it exists.
Okay. You'll need 2 successes.
Oh, God damn it.
Nailed it. And you got a little bonus success. Somewhere between like 50 to 60,000 years ago, a god sat upon this throne. Not often. It was a god of exploration. This is where he'd come back to when he wanted to take counsel and talk to his proxies before heading back off into the woods to find new places. You may learn one additional piece of information with that extra success if you'd like. Basically, you can ask history a question.
I will refrain from doing so. Asking history questions often has consequences, so I will thank the spider and reveal and then announce this information to the group.
Oh, fun. Another god that I have to hear about. Oh, well, hopefully this powerful being has some connection to this Ulthar. So you're saying a powerful being sat on this chair?
Indeed, a deity of exploration, I say. That was his domain. A traveling deity, I suppose. He didn't always sit here.
Wherever he has gone, he hasn't been back in somewhere between like 30 to 60,000 years. You don't know the exact date. You didn't pursue that, but you know it was like an extreme amount of time since he's last sat here.
Yeah. Time means something different to the immortal.
Yeah. As gods go, he wasn't like super powerful amongst other gods, but amongst mortals, he would be considered, pretty epic. Yeah.
And a traveling god.
Yeah. One that would visit many places.
And take his domain with him.
Indeed. The Modron shakes its head again, takes out its little measuring tools. Like, this doesn't make sense. Either this chair was built by ants, or someone has shrunk it. It should be much, much larger.
It's a library for ants.
He takes out a magnifying glass with a shield to prevent the sun from accidentally creating ant-killing laser beams, and begins examining the ground, looking for the ants that built the chair.
So ask him, like, what is wrong with the size of the chair?
He looks at it and says, well, look at the measurements. It should be much bigger. Takes out the papers, says, look at these carvings. Sort of tosses them onto the chair. It's like, no, you shouldn't be carving this at this size. It should be larger. The math requires it.
Okay. Well, like, Carol. Gerald just like grab the papers and sit down to like look at the inscriptions.
Some of the pictures on the inscriptions are kind of interesting. You see lots of like, it looks like little tiny maps of places, lots and lots of maps of places. Go ahead and make a scholarship plus focus test. See if you can uncover anything useful.
Well, that's gonna be fun.
The Modron sits down, sighing exasperatedly. But its eyes never stop twitching, never stop examining. Have we shown Troy a picture of Quadron?
I looked them up. Mordron, is that what I'm?
Modrons is the general
Modron?
species, and of
Modron's, yeah, Modron is the category of demon.
yeah, and this particular one is a Quadron.
They look very weird.
Quadrons are the only Modrons that are playable. In theory. At least in the base set.
They're also the only model that goes rogue.
Yep.
Indeed. All right. This is just about, looks like maps, but I have no idea what it's about. These, this so powerful guy needs to learn to get better cushioning on his chairs.
The Modron says, "You're right. See what I'm saying? Like, these should have been much, much larger. This guy would have done detail. And I think the detail's there, but who could read it? This chair should have been 100 feet tall. It's all very, very wrong."
It is the chair of a god. Perhaps the god has grown smaller. He hasn't been back in 60,000 years.
The Modron looks at you, makes a calculation, says, 60, you say?
That's what the chair told me.
He measures the height of the chair with what looks like just completely normal measuring tape, packages it away again, and then pulls out a stopwatch and starts it, and just stares at the stopwatch.
Broke the robot.
You have no idea how long it's going to stare at the stopwatch.
I have an idea.
For 60,000 years.
Modrons, everybody!
I attempt to look at the drawing, or like not the drawings themselves, but the chair to see if they're clear on the chair.
They are clear on the chair, yeah. The detail is just immaculate. These are not simple drawings. They're actually like relief carvings of the shapes of continents in a microscopic scale, and a lot of them. From a distance, it would look just like a texture over the chair, but when you're up close, you see mountains, valleys, you see canyons carved by rivers, but you have to get like your nose on top of it to see it.
So how much bigger would this chair be if this was the inaccurate size?
Yeah, that's a Quadron right there. The Modron appears to be trying to calculate that, by measuring the chair's rate of change over time. You expect that after some number of years, it will measure the chair again, and then use that math to calculate how big it was originally.
This chair looks to just be like human sized, like average human sized. Or is it
Yeah,
bigger than that?
a little bit bigger, but yeah, kind of humanish. Maybe a particularly tall and broad human.
But at the same time, if the I do not know if the chair has been shrinking. That means the forest has been advancing in this areas. So that means the closest. Oh no, it wouldn't be the closest. It would be further in. But I do not know if I can reverse the aging of trees, but I can probably. I can probably try to go up above and see, like, go through the forest and see the sort of the age of the trees and see if I can possibly find out like the 60,000 year era trees if they were still here at that time. It'll be a little bit of a long task to find out.
Okay, go on a little walkabout. That's a good plan. Yeah, make your esoteric roll there. It is going to take a little bit of time. You got to talk to some trees and be like, hey man, you know anybody that was around back then? And then they're going to send you some other trees, and those guys send you some other trees, and it's a bit of a chat. Andrew's come down for the trees and approached the throne. A little bit of curiosity.
So it's so I can spend 5 endurance if I were to add a bonus dice, right?
Yes, either 5 endurance or you can pay 1 stamina.
Or 1 stamina for the channeling.
If I'm reading this right, we changed esoteric. Oh, maybe not. Hold on. It's esoteric or esoteric potential. Yeah. So we renamed esoteric potential to stamina. So yes. Pentadrone and a monodrone.
Yeah.
I've forgotten what duo drones look like. Are they just cylinders?
Nah, they're
Yeah, I put all my stamina for this one.
Okay. It's a long walkabout, but you do eventually find one. We'll deal with what everybody else wants to do first, and then we'll have that conversation.
All right.
Oh, there we go. Of course, because it's half a quadrone.
Isn't that like a full thing though? They just have something in the.
It makes sense to the Modrons.
Got it.
Pentadrone is the last of the base. the base motrins, and then it goes into the hierarchs. That's when things get really weird.
They're all pretty weird. At base model.
That's a hexon.
I would not have guessed.
And septon.
Wow.
This is an octon.
So we've been out here for a bit. There's still nothing out here other than kind of us and this robot.
Animals seem to be keeping their distance from the area. There is sort of a feeling of emptiness in the natural order of things. Like something should be here that isn't.
That's a Decaton. Decatons are around Pit Lord level nasty if you mess with them.
And as you go above Decaton, you get into stuff that's like, it's more esoteric than powerful. It's like
And
conceptual things.
You start getting into super finite number. And then Secundus.
Yeah, there's only 2 Secundus ever.
I think there were 4.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right. It's 4.
Secundus.
It's into the power of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll do Tice's thing then. If you guys are gonna just hang out, Tice, you do eventually track down a tree that is old, but this tree was still like barely a sapling in that time period. So the sky felt much further away back then, like a distant calling, asking me to reach towards it. Now, these days, it's more like an old friend, always gracing the tops of my leaves.
I see. I come humbly to ask you of when you were a sapling of a great object that is not of nature. A being of great power sat on it. It used to be as giant as the trees, but now it is as small as a sapling compared to the trees.
Don't get old as me without knowing a thing or two. You're talking about that throne there, but you're wrong. It's as natural as the rest of this forest. Probably more so. Been here longer. Belongs to this place more than any of us. Of course, that feller don't sit on it no more.
Did it used to be a lot bigger?
Oh, he was taller than any of the trees. Helped him see further. Find new places. Said he needed to stand so he could see above the mountain to find the other side.
I see. And when did it? And after You hadn't seen him for a while. When did it start? The chair started shrinking into a smaller size.
Truth is, that was pretty recent. Within a flicker of the sun, I'd say.
And the trees grew in where it used to be that fast?
Oh yeah, hungry for the light, we are. Roots grow deep in this parts.
I see.
Young feller, you got a talent, but you got to understand, this is a place of trees in the wild. You give us a space and we're going to grow into it. Hell, I had to fight like hell just to get my bit of sun here.
When the throne shrank, did anyone or anything come here? We were looking for, as everyone has a spirit. We're looking for a spirit of someone of my kind, a druid.
Ain't seen a spirit come through here, not for quite a pace. I mean, sure, spirits come through here, but not a spirit like that feller. Nothing near so tall.
I see. So, besides it being abrupt, the chair being abruptly shrunk into a smaller size, did you was anything other unnatural about this area that happened besides the trees feasting?
Ought not to use the word unnatural to describe it. It's all been very natural here. Things that die, they fall over, and things that grow, they grow over to cover it. That's the way. The order of things. You always gotta fight for your piece of light. Only thing unnatural out here is that whirring little gizmo sitting over there. Gestures to the Modron. Should ask him, maybe he's seen a thing or two.
All right. I thank you for your help in this. And as a gesture of giving me such great information, I'm going to, I don't know if I can do this improvisation, but I'm going to just burn a potential and like just feed him energy as like, to help him just get a little bit more pushed out to the sun.
Alright, he grows a couple feet.
And yeah, I give him a bow and I head over back to the group.
Did you guys want to do anything while he was out? Otherwise, he comes back.
I'm sitting on the ground, continuing to watch the Modron watch its clock. Occasionally, I get up and look over its shoulder, look at the stopwatch, shake my head, and go and then sit.
For all their other quirks, that stopwatch is immaculately accurate. It even has special dials indicating time variance based on like what planes it's in relation to other planes and things.
Yeah, I would entirely expect that.
All right then, Tice, you make it back.
So, after consulting with the trees, I have found some information about the chair. It seems like it hasn't been shrinking for thousands of years. It shrank a couple of days ago. The trees just ate this area. Because all of the extra light that was here.
Based on your conversation, you're pretty sure it coincided. Its shrinking coincided with you guys being teleported to the plains. It was basically yesterday that it shrank.
Yesterday it shrank when we came here. So so possibly it could have been at the time. I don't know what So potentially at the time of death of Uthler, I don't know what that has to. Something that possibly has something to correlate it, since we are coming to this spot for Uthler.
The Modron did hear all that, looks up from its stopwatch, although one of its eyes keeps twisting down to double check the stopwatch. It says, "Yesterday? Ha! I knew there was something wrong with this. It's not shrinking at nearly the correct rate for it to be 60,000 years." He sort of frowns at the child. Takes another measurement and goes, Whatever it's doing, the shrinking has stopped. Puts its stopwatch away.
Were you here yesterday?
Motor says, "No. I arrived this morning."
Did you encounter anyone in this area? Maybe someone that was see-through?
See-through? No. Maybe? I mean, I wouldn't have seen them if they were see-through.
I think a spirit.
Oh, a spirit. Oh, no. No. They wouldn't go here. Spirits would go to the Jade Palace for sorting. If you're looking for a spirit, you want to go to the Celestial Bureaucracy. I've been there many times. I know the way. I have it in my memory chip. Taps the back of his cube.
I see. I guess you are the person we were looking for.
Oh, that's wonderful. You have found me. He begins taking more measurements of the chair.
Will you be able to take us to this place?
Oh, no, certainly not. I have to study the chair. It's important that my report be fully accurate.
Man, I wish my other character was here. He'd get along with this guy great.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, technically, in the other session, you technically are meeting him.
Yeah, it's true. I say, well, an interest of, it seems like you just got a lot of information about the chair that you didn't know. Maybe that advanced your research of it, and you can take a break and show us where to go, and then return, seeing as you save time.
He kind of says, you have given me some very useful information. I suppose I do owe you something. But I can't leave here myself until I've acquired all the information.
Does he have any more paper?
Yes, he does.
I gesture to the paper and I say, would you be able to draw us a sort of map to this?
He looks at the paper and he says, I'm not certain I could accurately represent this. And he reaches behind and pulls like it looks like a long rod, basically, with like little indentations. Like you might see a complicated punch card for a computer, like those old computers. Pulls one of those out of the back of his head, and it looks like he's powering down. But then, like, the arm slides it back in, and he powers back up. And he says, that information I don't think can be represented two-dimensionally. He says this after showing you a two-dimensional shape.
Will you be able to tell us exactly?
Oh yeah, I mean, you simply go to the Jade Palace.
Well, where is Jade Palace?
In Mechanus. I have the route right back here. Tap, tap. You just have to step through the portals in the right order, at the right time, as the gears turn. The timing is very precise. There's no way I could represent it accurately on a two-dimensional sheet of paper. Plus, you need the key.
Okay. What else? What information do you still need for the chair?
All of it.
Is this chair like bound to the ground in any way?
The chair appears to be carved out of a solid piece of stone that is part of the ground itself.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and this chair was like actually part of this world. It seems like all of the trees here grew after the chair was here.
But do you have stone anywhere in that magic? In those domains of yours, can you separate the chair from the ground?
Well, I do
No,
have
he does
dirt.
not. He has dirt. He can cover it.
It'd be really helpful if we could take the chair.
The part that the Modron keeps tapping is basically just on a drawer in the back of his head. And in that brief moment that you saw him pull it out, he basically powered down. It was only chance momentum in the tilt of his head that caused the weight of his hand to slide it back in and power him back up again.
May I ask, what is the key?
The key is the directions. Knowing how to open a gate is opening the gate. It's silly of you not to know that. I mean, it's right there in the word open.
When we looked at the cylinder, it was like it completely foreign, right? Like there was nothing visually to see on it other than it just looked like a cylinder with.
The one he pulled out of his head, it just it looks like a combination of holes and braille on it, like ones and zeros, basically.
Hey, wait a second. The one that says, was it? You said you were a priest of what's her name?
Istis.
I'm saying this in character because I just like didn't bother remembering the goddess's name. I know she was very important. You know, who are you follower again of? Because you said something about looking into the past.
I'm curious about this cylinder, and this robot seems very busy. Can I attempt to take it out of his head?
Yes. This would be a crime plus agility.
Ed?
Yeah.
I was asking a question before about how you said before you could look at, you said you saw something in the past before.
I did.
Could you look into the Modron's past and see exactly how he walked through to get here?
Perhaps. We could simply ask him. Sometimes the past is easy. I asked the Modron, how did you get here?
The Modron sort of recites, like, I went through the gate system, but he does say it in general terms. He doesn't tell you specifically what turns he takes. He says, I went through the Modron gate system by the rotations of gears, and I came out through the gate portal access point at that tree over there.
Understood. And I turn back and I say, he went through the Modron gates.
Yes, but he also said there were specific times you had to go through the Modron gates that apparently he can't transcribe into a 2D piece of paper.
Of course, the Modron gates are exceptionally complex. Mechanist connects to everything. He can go anywhere he wants if you know the secrets of the Modron gate. The best way to know the secrets of the Modron gates is to be a Modron. Perhaps we could ask him if we want to go somewhere else, or back to Mechanist. I kind of purse my nose and I say, I have no interest in going to Mechanist. It's boring there. Everyone knows what's going to happen.
It is, however, where the celestial bureaucracy is, which is where an unsorted soul might be sent to have it figured out exactly which domain they're supposed to be sent to.
If we wish to go there, I suppose we could ask him to guide us, if we have a reason to go.
He's too busy with the chair currently.
He did say that the cylinder in the back of his head is the key to the gate network, and that it has the instructions encoded upon it. But at the moment, from looking at it, you don't have the knowledge to decode those instructions. Although I think Troy was rolling to steal it. Is that correct?
That was what I was doing. I wanted to look. I only rolled one success.
I shrug and I say, if you get the key from him, then we can go into the Modron Gate network, and then we can take the turns as we see fit. And if we're meant to end up in the celestial bureaucracy, then we will.
Okay, the Modron basically powers off when you pull the key out, and you have the cylinder, and the Modron is powered down.
Oh, that was successful?
Yep. Only need one success. It's just a drawer, and as soon as you have it, he's powered off, so he can't fight back.
This is so sad.
I mean, perhaps we could convince him to take us?
He's
He's busy watching a stopwatch, but that's foolish.
I look down and say he's not doing anything right now. And I begin to investigate the cylinder, and I assume I still see nothing.
Nothing that you recognize as anything other than dots and holes. It's like a weird version of Braille. But yeah, I mean, you have it, and it is the gate key.
Got it. And so I say to the others, I say, he said this, or it said this was the key. He had like pointed at a area where he came from, right? Like
Yep.
Basically in the jungle. I say, I assume we could take the key over there. And how big is this thing? How big is the
It's like a the cardboard tube on the inside of a roll of paper towels.
Okay, that's how big that is. How big is the robot?
Oh, the robots have incredibly exact specifications. Let me find it.
Or are they like, they're always the same?
Yes. They always have different like attachments, but they're the exact measurements are always identical. Damn it, no, I didn't want to know about quadcopters. Come on, Google.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Okay, he's heavier than I thought he was. I see a stand between 4 and 5.5 feet, which I'm assuming just is whether they're hinged. And then 150 pounds.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be like exactly 3-foot cubes or something.
But
So he's pretty big. I was going to suggest that we could take him and plug this back in, but it would seem he is too heavy. So maybe we can just go to where he gestured, and maybe this will work.
I do have an idea. I'm going to. Can I borrow the key for a second?
Yeah, sure. I hand him the key.
I'm going to place it on the ground and form a casing of dirt around it, so that it becomes a mold. And then I will open it so that I can take the key out, and I'll close the mold again, and I'll ask a tree if I could borrow one of its smaller branches, and I will form it inside of the mold to make a wooden key of what the Modron's thing is, if that's possible.
It is possible. That is a lot of complicated magic, so you're going to need to make a couple rolls on that. Bear in mind that whatever this wooden key is, it probably won't have the magical properties to open the gate, since the gate is magic.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I think we need the actual object.
Excellent thievery technique there. In this particular instance, it's the object, not the shape of the object, that matters. All right, so you guys are going to go through the gate?
We're going to head to where we, I guess, assume the gate to be.
So you go there. Andrew says he's going to stay behind. He mutters something about filling the void, and he looks at the empty container behind the Modron. The empty space for where you pulled out the key. You guys all gather around the gate and hold hands. Who's going to go through the gate first?
I take the glove off of my right hand.
The path of the future.
And sigh.
Okay. You step through and make what to anyone else would seem like random movements. Forward, backward, left, right. Sometimes turning, sometimes not. Scenes flicker in front of all of you. Of course, you realize that you were fated to make those turns and decisions, and as random as you try to make them, the fates always know where you were headed. And you arrive after seeing dozens of crazy landscapes, volcanoes, ice flows. Eventually, things sort of become similar, gears and cogs, and then you appear on a small gear by the standards of Mechanus, meaning only maybe like a few hundred feet across, but it's connected in space to other gears, which are connected in space to other gears, and at a great distance you see a mountain. A huge towering mountain on a gigantic gear that is at a 90-degree angle to you guys. So you're kind of looking at it from above, along a chain of gears.
I put my glove back on.
There's a great deal of activity going on the mountain, but it's hard to tell exactly what all of it is. And then the gear you're on starts to move. Not just the ticking, but a great swinging. You guys will need to make a check to stay on, as a large segment of the gear section is rotating into a new position.
Is it going to make it easier or harder or impossible for us to get to the mountain?
It will make it easier, but that assumes you're not thrown off the gear into space.
Okay, yeah, that's a good assumption to make.
Broadly speaking, this would be a vigor plus labor check to just hold on to something, but you may argue other various things. The gear is basically a giant piece of iron floating in space, and all around you are just other gears. Gears the size of cities, gears the size of mountains. You're in a universe of clockwork, and all of the gears have things on them. Landscapes, grass, mountains, valleys, and some cities, castles. The rush of air tries to throw you as the gears spin violently. Is anybody going to make any special rolls other than just a plain vigor plus labor is sort of my default for holding on tight?
Not I.
I'm not thinking of something different.
All right, Tice and Ed, you both have one tax of strain as your adrenaline takes over and damages your own muscles, desperately trying not to be thrown out in space. Kite, you have 2 tax of panicked strain.
That's physical damage, right?
It is. This could be a pulled muscle. It could be a reduction in something physical that you can do. It could just be that you hurt yourself. Maybe you dislocated your shoulder. But yeah, it is a physical yank.
Okay. Would my transformation have undone after going through all this?
Yeah. At this point it would, so you're probably slowed as well. Picture yourself standing upon a small gear. By small, I mean 100 feet across. So, a big gear, but not as big as the gear it's connected to. These gears are connected to each other at a 90-degree angle, making this other, much larger gear appear to be a wall in front of you. And yet, as you look up this wall, it's as though you're looking across a landscape with a mountain rising up. And there are people that appear to be walking on this wall as though the wall was a floor. Of course, the experienced planer among you probably knows how to handle the situation.
What was that? What was happening again?
2 gears at a 90-degree angle.
I kick up my foot step 1 foot onto the gear. That's a 90-degree angle, kind of like kicking it pretty much. And then I lift my other foot off the ground, put it on there, and begin walking up the gear.
It looks like he's just walking up a wall, like gravity's decided that the rules don't apply here. It takes a little stumbling at first. You guys don't do it gracefully, but fortunately no one's watching, so you're not terribly embarrassed by your first experience with gravity tomfoolery. And now you are standing at the base of a giant mountain upon which, at the very top, you can see a distant palace. And surrounding the mountain are numerous gates. These gates have a distinctly Asian-style flair to them. That sort of curved wood tops with straight wood sides. And magically appearing in these gates are rows upon rows, hundreds upon thousands of semi-translucent, but still kind of there, not really like glowing or colorful. They're still normal people. They're just a little bit translucent spirits that are stepping through and forming up into lines to begin climbing up the stone stairs that wind their way in twisting patterns up the mountain. You have reached the celestial bureaucracy, where souls are sorted. The spirits seem to come from all walks of life. You see, and not just all professions, but all species. You see bird people, rat people, lizard people, elves, dwarves, humans, halflings. An unending variety stepping through. You see people who seem to be like recovering from stab wounds, the blood slowly fading from their clothes. Many people are carrying the tools of their former trade. Blacksmiths with hammers, farmers with sickles. You see warriors and peasants alike, all forming up. And in relatively orderly lines are walking up what is not really a straight or orderly road. It's a twisting, winding stair that goes up this mountain. The mountain itself being impossibly tall.
So, shall we get in line? Or do you think there's another way for visitors?
Technically, none of you are dead.
Yeah, that's why we'd be visitors.
I don't think we belong in these lines.
Hey, I get in the line and say, I would like to be judged.
All right, you get in line. The spirits make space for you. They kind of give you funny looks, but yeah, you're not transparent, but that's okay. No one's making... They're not the ones making judgments here. It's not that no one's making judgments, it's just they're not the ones making judgments here.
I say, it's fine. We'll all be dead at some point. I'm just going a bit early. Always good to see where you stand.
Yeah, when your goddess is the goddess of fates, it's like the order of it doesn't really matter. Judge me now, judge me later, it's fine. All right, if all of you are getting in line, it's going to be a long time before you reach the top.
I feel like we should just go to the top. How far away is it?
The mountain is gigantic, and right now you're only seeing the first leg of the journey. A couple twists up the mountain as it zigzags through switchbacks and then disappears around a bend. The mountain itself is not a smooth or like orderly mountain. It's craggy and twisty with lots of detail to it. In fact, I may have a wonderful picture. That's not so wonderful, actually. Never mind. There is a lot of green on this mountain, too. The top is not snowy. It's but the green is also not really trees. The green is like underbrush and grass and scrub.
I'll be right back.
I was gonna try to reason with the proxy or whatever, so I'll wait till I.
So we can either, what was it? We can either wait in line or we can try to go through craggy lands.
Can I attempt to find out if these are people are tangible? Just kind of brush against their arms. Or something.
These kinds of mountains. It's just taller, and if you can imagine that road then turns around that mountain and keeps going up further, and then further, and then further. Yeah, you can talk to the spirits, no problem.
I don't want to talk to them. I want to know if they're tangible. I just kind of like nudge them, not in a alarming manner. I just want to see if I can actually physically.
There is some interaction, but you do go through them if you push too hard. It seems like there's no way to really hurt them, which is kind of the idea. That they are already dead, so they can't really be hurt here.
Okay, and this is there basically that stepped path, or is it like just a? Like,
yes.
Is it a wide path,
no, it is a stepped path.
Okay, and is it generally wide enough, or is it just like a single file?
Yeah, no. People don't need to go single file here, but they're not cutting in line. No one's really pushing ahead. They're all moving at the same pace. At the top of the first rise, after the first set of switchbacks, you do see a small pagoda that they seem to be going into and then coming out of the other side, but you can't see where they go from there.
You said that's at the like top, like where it's curving?
Yeah, right where it goes out of sight. this little pagoda.
Yeah, back.
Okay. So I'm suggesting after ascertaining all, I suggest to the. I don't think we ever got your name. So, other person. Since this is a line for the dead, I don't think we belong in this line. We should be on our way, so maybe we can just take the path. It seems we can't get in their way in any way, so we wouldn't be preventing them from doing anything. And I'm reasoning with the Istis priestess.
I sigh and I say, very well, very well. I will be judged later. I wave goodbye to the spirits and follow them.
All right, you guys find that you can sort of rush up the stairs fairly quickly. You kind of phase through these people. You don't really knock them or bump them. It is a bit tiring, but pacing yourself well, you start heading up. As you head up, what are you thinking about? We'll go with Troy first. What is your character thinking about?
I have no idea. His mind is blank. He's right. I assume I'm just focused on the trying to find this thing we're trying to find, so I can get back. Like, this is all strange. I want to go back to the trees of home and stuff. So I'm focused on finding them.
Okay. Troy, what is your character? I'm sorry, just did that. Tice, what is your character?
I'll go again.
As I move up there and he sees like the sparseness of greens and stuff, you just imagine like how in his world and stuff, like he wishes like he's just thinking about having like anywhere he goes to be like illustrious and like full of trees and full of life and everything. But he's also thinking about the druid at the same time because the druid's connected to life and stuff.
And Ed, what is your character thinking about as you ascend the stairs?
I once observed a cat over a period of about 2 months, and watched it escape near-death situations more than 9 times. I am contemplating the cat, and the usefulness of the phrase that cats have 9, and whether that should be potentially extended to more.
Okay. You do find yourself lagging behind the others a little bit as you ascend, but not by much. And then you guys reach the top. Now here you do find the spirits are still moving as sort of a crowd, but they're filing into this pagoda. Here you can see around the side of the mountain where there is really just more mountain, but the path here diverges. There are several other smaller paths, and here it seems that in the pagoda the spirits are being sorted and sent down one of these 3 other paths. Heading into the pagoda, there is a man dressed in sort of silk robes with a tall hat. The robes are green in color, but not the jade green, but instead it's like sort of a leafy green. And he smiles and sort of waves, gives the sort of finger, I'll be with you in a moment, and proceeds to examine each person in turn and send them on their way. Every few people, he looks up at you guys, smiles, puts up his finger and says, I'll be with you in a moment, and then proceeds to continue sorting the spirits.
You said to us, I'll be with you in a moment?
He says, just have a seat. I'll be with you in just a moment. Just a few more to go. And he continues to sort the endless line of spirits. He seems to be looking at them, occasionally asks them a question or two, but they're really simple questions. He's mostly just looking at them and then telling them which of the 3 paths to continue on. He's being kind of quick about it too. He's like, yeah, that one. Yeah, definitely there. Is that a shovel? Yeah, okay, that path right there. And then he looks up and says, yeah, I'll be with you in just a second. Just have a seat anywhere. Just a moment, I'll be right with you.
I try to watch what he's doing and see if I can start to pick up anything with how they're being sorted, if there's anything I can pick up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't know what I would do.
Investigation, probably plus cunning.
This will be terrible. Love it.
I would like to help him with that.
Indeed terrible. I noticed nothing.
You notice that he is definitely sorting people.
There's something different between them. Or they're all the same. Or these two are different, and this one is the one that's the same as one of these. That's what I can tell you.
You start trying to guess, like, which ones are coming, and then, yeah. Tice, you think it may have something to do with their jobs. He might be sorting by, like, their, whether they were peasant workers or wealthy people or merchants. You're not quite clear on exactly what it is, but it seems like people who are better dressed tend to be going one way, and people who are more poorly dressed tend to be going a different way.
And you said there was 3 paths or 2 paths?
3.
And what are going like in the 3rd path?
3rd path, it seems to be kind of a mix. Some people who are better dressed, some people who are not. Nothing is absolute, but that's the trend you've gathered as best you can tell. You are doing a better job of guessing than Troy is when you try and you look at a person like, I bet he's going to go send him that way.
I personally think I'm doing a great job. I think I've cracked it.
I guess while we're waiting, I guess one of the things I'll be like noting is like to see if to chance that there might be like other druids that have died and are coming along the way, and might like see if I can see exactly what kind of path druids would go, if I see any.
Okay. So far you haven't seen any, but you never know. There's a lot of people. Depends on how long you want to wait.
When we came in here, was it like, is there any curvature to this thing, or can you like directly go? Does the doorway directly open up to the line, or was there like a curve of the line? Like, is it visible from where that person is out? I'm assuming he's busy. Actually, this probably doesn't. I want to attempt.
There's nobody guarding any of the exits either. Like he's just telling them where to go, and they're just going.
Got it. I wanted to attempt to get into the line outside and just start walking
Okay.
and see what happens.
All right. You do so. He looks at you. He points at the middle path. Says that way. And that's it. That's all he does.
I don't immediately start walking back to the bell. I walk past him, but then I kind of just turn around and come. And to the others.
That's a very clever way of figuring out which way he would have sent a druid. Yeah.
And so I don't know if I'm the same as the other guy entirely, but I feel like there was enough to say we should probably take.
I'm going to we're going to spend a little bit more time, but I'm going just to double check. I will go into back in part of the line and do what he did, just to make sure that.
You are also sent down the middle path.
Yeah, I'll just continue walking, gesturing to the others.
All right. Ed, did you want to get sorted?
Sure. Everyone else is.
All right. Yeah, he looks at you and he sends you on the left path, which is a path that goes up a more steep slope than the other two.
I thank him and then head up the path.
Okay, that is a different path than the path that your other party members are taking. So you're welcome to split the party. All of them are heading up the mountain, just by different paths.
I'll take my path.
All right.
I will attach my messenger to him.
Okay.
And ask that he report at some point if he needed it.
So, yeah, Troy has given you a small mouse.
Okay.
And go ahead.
I hold the mouse carefully in my left hand, and I talk to it all the way up the thing. I say, "Hello, little mouse. You have lived a long and lustrous life. Alas, mice lives are short. I'll keep you in this hand where you're safe." And then I begin doing a recounting of the mouse's life to the mouse, which I'm pretty sure doesn't care.
Not only does it not care, but you find that its life is incredibly short. It began when Troy cast the spell a few seconds ago, and has continued up until it being held in your hand. And those are the only two events of its entire lifespan.
Excellent.
But it is fully intelligent and listening intently as you talk. Which is slightly horrifying when you think about it for too long. What is my purpose? You pass the butter.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Alright, so those of you on the middle path, you proceed to into a valley where it is continuously raining. You can see that there is the path above you and the path below you. The path below you seems to have a little bit of a flooding issue from the rain, whereas the path above seems to just be bright sunshine. You stand in the middle where you're getting wet, but at least not being swept by currents. Ed, your path is bright and sunny, but very, very steep. You're exerting a lot of effort. You can make an athletics check to try to basically power through. Otherwise, you're going to need to take some health damage or sit down and rest. One of the two.
Yeah, I'm not in a hurry. I've got a lot to talk to this mouse about, so I'm just gonna take my time. I'm assuming that the party will wait for me. I know they will, and so I'll just I'll just take my. It gives them some time at the top to get their bearings.
Okay. Troy, you and you entice. You're tromping along through the rain. Wind is whipping at you and just like pushing you back. Your clothes are soaked. It's cold. This is basically a condition coming at you unless you can do something to mitigate it. Yeah.
So what was the tax again? Sorry, I missed it.
Your path is being blown at by wind and fallen upon by rain. Your clothes are soaking wet. You're getting freezing cold, and you're going to start taking damage unless you do something to mitigate it. The path below you, the bottom path you see, appears to be flooded. People are like trying to swim through it. The spirits are.
Or we're just dealing with wind and rain for the.
Yep. You can just take your point of damage and power through, or you can try and do something to mitigate it.
I'll take my point.
Stopping to rest is not an option along this path. The wind and rain do not cease.
I think I'm just taking a point of damage.
Me too.
All right.
Just bearing through it. Without being a bear.
Pushing through, you eventually reach the top of the next rise. Here you see the three paths converge again at a pagoda. The spirits are coming out of their paths much more slowly here. They enter the pagoda one at a time. It's just a trickle compared to the flood that was below. Many of the people coming from the upper path look absolutely exhausted, like they're about to fall down on their feet. Whereas a lot of people coming from the lower path, though they're soaking wet, they look invigorated. People from your path are just kind of shivering and sort of glad for the warmth. There's no sign yet of the girl.
That's fine. She has contact if I need to pull it back or if she sends it. Guess we just head toward the pagoda.
Yep. Ed, after resting for a little while, you get up, walk a little more until you're tired, sit down and rest again.
Excellent. I begin to explaining to the mouse about the story about the cat that I was that's on my mind at the moment, and how cats and mice don't typically.
The mouse is disappointed every time the cat, through sheer luck, appears to avoid its imminent death. I mean, it may be a magical construct, but it was done in the shape of a mouse, and that comes with some basic prejudices. Eventually, you feel a little bit better rested, and you get up, you travel a little bit, climbing up, going across a couple switchbacks, and then start to get a little fatigued, so you sit down to rest again. Make a investigation plus perception roll, please.
Me?
Yes. Very good. You notice that you are absolutely at the first place you stop to rest.
I look at the mouse and I say, this is curious. We've rested here before, mouse.
This path doesn't fork, doesn't branch. It's a straight line, well, a twisted line, but it's a line. And yet, having stopped to rest, you find yourself at the place where you first stopped to rest.
I sigh and I say, perhaps there is no rest. Perhaps we must continue on our path. I tell this to other people. It's okay to rest on your path, but that's not what you tell other people. I wink at the mouse, and then I get up and, tired, I just trudge up the path at a constant pace. I'll just take fatigue.
Okay. So at the top, you guys do eventually see the girl. She's almost to the top. Just looks absolutely exhausted as she gets there and joins you as you are warming yourselves in the sun. She looks like she's about to just faint and fall over from exhaustion. The people coming from the lower path, they look like invigorated. Like they've just gone for a swim, and coming out of it, it was like a sauna that just gave them strength.
I get to the top and I look at the mouse and I say, everyone's path is different. Your path is as good as anyone else's. Do not envy someone else's path, because you never know where it's going to end.
Indeed. And all of these paths end in another pagoda. The doors here, there are 3 doors, but it doesn't really seem to matter because they all go into the same empty space in the middle. The inside you can see all the way to the ceiling. Haven't divided this one into floors. It's just sort of a single open room in which 3 people are sitting on pillows. Each of these people has 3 faces that sort of rotate, and they're all wearing silk. One is gold, one is black, and one is blue. Each of their faces have a male face, a female face, and a sort of monstrous face that rotate into position as they say different things. And they seem to have finished talking to a person who then goes past them through a single door, behind which you can see further steps leading further up the mountain. Now, those of you standing in the room, the golden one turns to its female face and says, "You know, traditionally we do this one at a time." And the blue one turns to the male face and says, "Yeah, and traditionally they're dead, so what you gonna do?" The black one in the middle turns to its monstrous face and says, "We can judge them. It's our right."
You said multiple paths go out the back of this thing too? Or?
No, there's only one path out the back.
Oh, I don't like that.
The golden-robed one turns to its monstrous face and says, "One of you, step forward now. Choose who will be judged first."
Terra will step forward first.
Okay. The one in black turns to its male face and says, "A philosopher of the middle path. You have experienced life, though not all of it, it seems. The blue-robed one turns to its female face and says, "Have you come seeking growth and enlightenment?" The yellow one turns to its male face and says, "Have you come seeking wealth and riches?" The black-robed one just remains silent, waiting for you.
I have not come for anything personal of mine. I always listen to what nature says, and I follow by its rules. But I am looking for someone that is of my order, too. That is already passed on through life and into this world here.
The black-robed one switches to its female face, cocks an eyebrow, kind of interested as, "Please elaborate. Whom are you seeking?"
We are looking for someone named Ulathor. His name is Ulathor. He was a druid.
Uthalor, yeah.
Uthalor, yeah. Uthalor, a druid from my. I wasn't not unsure if he was from our world or not. He was a bit strange, but we've come seeking him to know more information.
They all kind of seem to be trying to look at each other, but with the rotating faces, it's very confusing. So after a little bit, they stop, and the one with the black turns to its male face and says, "That was a hard one. He is two people. Very challenging." The golden one, the golden-robed one, turns to its monstrous face and says, "We should have sent him to Pandemonium. He is mad." The blue one turns to its male face and says, "But not completely mad. We can't send half of him to Pandemonium. That doesn't make sense."
Yes, because I think from what we've done, whatever he had found had corrupted him and made him go partially insane.
Yeah, the one in black remains on its female face and says, "We chose to make him a steward here. He will tend our gardens with his craft." The golden one turns to the female face and says, "It was the kindest thing we could have done." The blue one turns to its demon face and says, "We could have split him in half."
May I see your wonderful gardens then?
And this, the black-robed one turns to its male face and says, "You have not been judged fully. Your actions are not complete." Blue-robed one turns to the female face and says, "What he's trying to say is your life is not complete. You're still alive." The golden-robed one turns to its male face and presents a sword and places it on the ground. All three of them turn to their monstrous face, and they say in unison, "There is one way into the garden." Anyone else in the party is welcome to speak up. You're all in the room. You're just not in the middle of this. So if you want to advise him on how to proceed.
I mean, don't do it, but I don't know how to say.
And this is the only way to get into the gardens to speak to him.
The black-robed one turns to male face and says, "That's an important question." Blue-robed one turns to its male face and said, "He said only." The golden-robed one turns to female face and says, "We cannot rightly say yes to that."
Oh. Is there other ways to get into the garden?
The golden one turns to its monstrous face and says, "You could try and make a run for it." There's a wicked smile to the teeth on the face. The blue one turns to the female face and says, "Or we could decide to let you." She kind of gives a glare to the other two. The black-robed one remains silent.
So,
I mean, you haven't asked, I guess, if you could just go. Or
He kind of did.
he asked if there was a way to get in there.
I mean, we're here to figure out what happened to this. Like we're here to figure stuff out, right? We're not here to be judged or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Also, you didn't ask. You could ask maybe if they could bring him from the garden somehow. That's possible.
could you bring him out here to talk to?
The one in black robe sighs, turns to its female face and says, "We're not judging you anymore, are we?"
You can judge all you like, I say, but we're not ready to be judged. You could tell us where you'd send us now. That would be interesting. I'd like to go next. But you have no power or authority to send us there. I mean, I guess you have the power to send us there, but not the authority. It wouldn't be prudent, and you guys would never do something that wasn't prudent.
The blue one remains on its female face and says, "See? Told you." The yellow one turns to the male face and glares at her, but says nothing. The black one turns to its male face and says, "Yeah, you can go through. You just have to walk past us. We're here to judge the dead, not you."
We're looking for a particular dead that you may have judged, though I'm not sure that you're the ones that... I think well, it's possible that the person or entity we're looking for is outside of your jurisdiction.
They look a little bit nervous at that. The one in black turns his monster's face and says, "Are you challenging our jurisdiction?"
No, but I would be interested in the details. We're looking for a missing god, basically, right? Or are we looking for a soul that came here?
You're looking for a soul. The soul is Uthalor. He's a druid who had a magic rock when he was killed. And these primes are looking for information about that magic rock. Yeah.
We're looking for a druid named Uthalor who had a magic rock.
Yeah, so
There's
Tice already figured
apparently
out.
There's also apparently a missing god.
Tice already
Do
figured
you
out that
preside over
Uthalor
this?
is in the garden. He's already got that answer out of him.
Okay, so I just basically say, if it were to be the case that a god were to become deceased, shall we say, it happens. Is that within your purview?
The answer is a uniform no. That would be within the purview of the Jade Emperor and the Jade Emperor alone.
Understood. Well, thank you for clarifying. I give my traditional bow.
Uthalor, they say, though not speaking in unison, but just through their progressive heads, Uthalor was a bit of a puzzle because his god was dead. He was the last believer in it. And so there was no proper procedure for it. Uthalor himself has undergone some kind of trauma, which has left his psyche damaged. He is half coherent and half insane. And the insane half is not from him, it's from some magic he touched. We couldn't send him to Pandemonium, as he's not completely insane, nor could we send him to Elysium, where he belongs, because he is partially insane. And so we're keeping him in our garden in the hopes that the problem resolves itself.
How embarrassing.
Very.
Well, I will see what we can do. We endeavor to remove this blight. Smudge on your record, shall we? If you will let us pass, of course.
The blue one says, still on its female face, says, "We never actually had the power to stop you. We were just playing games."
Of course, but this is your jurisdiction. I would never think of barging into your house, even though I'm technically allowed.
The golden one turns to its male face and says, "Thank you. We appreciate your respecting our customs, traditions, and authorities here." The black one turns to its monstrous face and stands up and gets out of the way. And there is a door behind it that you can pass through. The golden-robed one collects its sword off the ground, somewhat disappointed that it was not able to convince Tice to commit suicide.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, because normally you're the one that is the one that like has to do all the like when people come to ask you for their things. Is there anything that you wish to have before we go into the garden?
The one in gold says the sun, the one in black says the wind, and the one in blue says the rain.
I'll give a bow and I'll walk in and.
All right. So you now appear to be on the final leg of a journey towards the magnificent palace at the top of the mountain. There are very few travelers on this path. You see just a few, people scattered up the stairs, but there are great distances between them. You're the only group of people. Everyone else left on this path is walking it alone. They are, of course, ghost people, but yeah. Up the stairs you travel, and upon reaching the top, you stand before the gigantic and magnificent Jade Palace. And this is where things kind of take a bit of a turn. Before you've been on this very clearly demarked path for people of the afterlife to travel and be judged. Now you're at a place where there's clearly other stuff going on. There is what almost looks like, if you had been from a more technologically advanced place, a runway. in which flying chariots pulled by winged horses are parked, along with like lizards with no legs but wings that also pull chariots. Like there's just all kinds of flying craft with strange beasts gathered here. You do see some landing, some taking off, all with important-looking people going off to do strange things. And then, out of nowhere, a gigantic blue flying serpent with no wings whatsoever, but dozens of legs across its body, comes twisting out of the sky, landing. A couple people get off of it, and then it itself slithers into the palace, shrinking in size. And in the distance in the palace, you think you see it forming into the shape of a person. You are in a place of gods and monsters, without a doubt. There is an overall theme of green, but green was not actually the building material. This place was built out of marble and gold. Green is the decoration. The pots and pans and candlesticks are all made of jade. All of the tapestries are bright green, though all with gold inlay, of course. Some of the spirits are walking in and immediately taking up jobs. Some of them are just picking up brooms that happen to be set aside in special places and closets and beginning to sweep and clean and take care of the palace. With all the traffic, it would not be difficult for you guys to slip inside.
I assume the gardens are on the other side. There's like just like an entrance for this. We can't like. There's not like a going around this.
You could go around. Yeah, you're not sure what's around. It's the top of a mountain, so going around would be some difficult climbing. The entrance is just open, and there's people coming in and out. A lot of important-looking people seem to be landing in flying vehicles. Looking out, of course, from this vantage, the mountain is... You're at the top, and it's now a little more clear that you're in the midst of the gears. So the sky is full of all of these crazy gears with other castles and cities and things. But this palace looks to be the most magnificent of all of them.
I say we just go in then and try to.
Celestial bureaucracy, I say. They don't call it a bureaucracy for nothing. I hope you're ready to stand in line and fill out some paperwork.
Heading in, you do see lots of lines that can be queued into, and you overhear lots of conversations. Here, even the most important people are standing in line for paperwork. Princes, kings, and emperors alike. They all have to fill out their forms correctly in order to gain entrance. But it is, if nothing, a smooth operating machine. You only get snippets of conversation as they go past getting their papers and getting things filled out. Most of the conversation seems to center around some kind of a war. You hear the term blood war occasionally, but you also hear the terms prime world in snippets. It seems it's caused quite a bit of fuss, and quite a lot of people have arrived to discuss it and make petitions about it. When finally it's your turn at the desk, the clerk asks, "Welcome to the Celestial Temple, Jade Palace, home of Hu Yuang Shuangti, the Jade Emperor, and the Celestial Bureaucracy. What is your business here?" The dude, by the way, when reading all that out, was clearly reading off a card that's like on his desk.
We are looking for the gardens. As we're searching for one of the stewards in it.
Gardens of Peaceful Enlightenment. Let's see. He pulls out a little calendar. Says, there are openings for solo and group. Will you be needing time alone to contemplate existence? Or will you be with a group or okay with buddying up with others? We do have special group rates. I will warn you, if you're going solo, it may be a bit of a wait.
We're looking for a companion of ours that may have arrived earlier. We wish to group with him.
Ah, very well. All right. What is your companion's name?
Uthalor.
Uthalor is flipping through a card catalog. He pulls out one of the cards and goes, I think he's in here. He sets the card down on the desk, draws a circle on it, and then reaches into the circle as it becomes a physical thing and pulls on it, and another drawer comes out of the card with additional cards inside it. He then selects one of these cards and says, yes, Uthalor is, he's in the garden right now, apparently on cleanup duty. Are you certain you're here to visit the garden with him, or just be in the garden while he's in it?
We're here to consult with him.
Well, as long as it doesn't interfere with his ability to tend to the garden, I don't see a problem. He takes out a form, stamps it twice, hands it to you, along with a pen to sign, and a stamp for you to put the third stamp on it. They need 3 stamps, or he can't proceed. Somehow this knowledge that it needs 3 stamps or he can't proceed is just like written in the stare that he gives you as he hands you the stamp.
I stamp it.
With a look of deep relief and satisfaction, he takes the triple stamped document back, files it in one of the vanishing magical filing cabinets, and hands you guys a visitor pass. It clips neatly to your robes.
It's like a little wooden tile type deal, or okay.
With it's like a wooden tile with jade corners that have been glued onto it. Yeah.
Like little dangly tassels. I like it. Yeah. Okay. So I put it around my neck and I say thank you, and I head towards. I was like, well, where can I? It's my first time here. What direction would I be going?
He's through the first set of doors, and then take a right, and then you'll see it. Can't miss it. Just past the pillars.
Thank you very much.
The first set of doors are the size of giants and could easily allow titanic creatures to pass. Through that is a hallway that, if you were to turn right eventually, because it is incredibly large, you would find pillars, pillars the size of small buildings. And upon walking past them, there is an opening into a beautiful garden, large enough that some might even consider it a small jungle. The only thing that differentiates it from the wildlands is that it is full of statues, beautifully carved of a variety of metals and stones. It's not hard to find Uthalor in the midst of all this, as he is the cause of the radical plant growth. He's using his druidic magic to make the garden have all of the beauty of nature. He is ghostly, but recognizable from your fight with him. That time you kicked his ass and I think shoved magic so far down his throat he exploded.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Oops.
He's looking much better. His intestines are inside him now.
I say, okay, well, we found your friend. I don't really know what to do with him. So, he looks well.
He
If
does.
the mouse is still around, I'm going to sit down in the garden and begin telling it some more stories. Just sort of sit Indian style on the grass and then hold the mouse in both of my hands and say, so the thing about cheese is it's very, very, very high in fat. You think it's good, but you need to be able to move fast. Nuts and berries are far more efficient.
I think at this point, having been exposed to so much lawful energy in its travels here, the mouse is actually taking notes on like a little piece of paper. Nuts and berries, got it.
Yeah, I guess I'll head up to the person we're looking for.
Any nervousness you may have thought about seeing Uthalor again vanishes when he stares sort of blankly through you, says, "Yes, can I help you?" As though he has no memory of your fight.
Yes, we've come to talk to you.
He smiles contentedly, says, "I can talk for a time."
We wish to talk about what was it? About your time before, just before you came here.
He cocks his head and says, "I don't understand. I've always been here."
I say, now there's nothing wrong with a bit of cheese from time to time, you see.
Damn you, Ed. I come up to him and just ask him, do you know who you are?
"I am Uthalor, the gardener of the Jade Palace." "I'm the one that makes the plants grow. Pretty things, beautiful things, with flowers. Don't pick the flowers. Don't pick the flowers." You see red glowing behind his eyes, veins shooting up his neck, and then something bright glows on his chest. A locket that's been tucked beneath his shirt is glowing from under his clothes. The veins recede, his eyes go blank again. He says, "I am Uthalor, the gardener." And that's where we're going to end it tonight. Congratulations, you have met the still half-insane Uthalor, who seems to have an artifact that's containing the insane part of him. He does not currently have memories, so that will be the next challenge, is recovering his memories to find out what the magic stone was that he was using. And yeah, that's where we're going to end it for tonight. Go ahead and do closing ceremonies.
I'd like to give one to Echelon for his talk with the little mouse about his life and like the importance of cheese. I like to give one to Kite for his excellent just like slowly becoming more of an animal in the place that like he was just built to be in the Beastlands. It seems like just like hopping through the forest, he just like felt so normal in there.
Wish we were in there for longer. Such a good place for me to be.
Yeah. You can always go back and just live there.
Yeah, I think that depending on how all this stuff goes, he might that might be an end point for him. And he'll never be the same animal whenever you see him. I mean, that's written into his background. One day hone himself and adopt full creature form, shedding his humanity, save returning to help people. That's like written in. Anyway, Ed, for continuing your conversation with the mouse and teaching it. I don't know how Planescapes works, but I assume we can put enough belief into the mouse to make it real forever, right? Like that's totally a thing. Planescapes is super confusing to me all the time. That should totally be possible. And then Tice, for I liked the like dynamic of seeking out the old tree and having a conversation with it. That I know it didn't really like bear fruit, but it was like it was kind of a cool little side story thing.
Yeah. To Tice for getting into an argument with the with the judges at the imperial bureaucracy. And yeah, like I mean, they can't really do anything to you, but they can convince you to do things to yourself, and like at least some of them would think that would be hilarious. Troy, for your mouse, I still don't know why you gave me the mouse. I think it was probably some sort of communication device or something that I could use to contact you, or you gave it to me for a reason, and my character basically just completely ignored whatever that reason was and assumed that you had given me a gift of a small companion that is not long for this world. So I'm attempting to make it have the best life that it can.
Oh, this goes by so quickly when there's only 3 players.
Yeah, it's a little rough when we're 10.
So is that everybody?
That is
all 3 of
That's
us.
everyone, yeah.
All right. Well, in addition, you guys did something very, very interesting. It may have sort of slipped by, but you took the monkey to the throne. You set up the situation with the defective Modron. You basically gave him the defect and left the monkey there to reprogram him. And so, in effect, you have recreated the situation that your other characters are going to encounter. And for this, you have gained a renown within the Beastlands as the people that helped to, quote, fill the void, end quote.
Nice.
As a refresher on the rules, renown can be traded for either connections, resources. If you join a faction, it can be traded for faction, or it can become 10 experience points. It can also take a companion and make them a permanent fixture of your character sheet, or similarly, a powerful magical item can become a permanent part of your character.
like the mouse.
Correct.
Cool.
The fate of the mouse can be rewoven if you so choose.
I mean, if you just gave me a renown, you just gave me a mouse. That's what's like. It's just a permanent mouse now. And I really hope that it did adopt the lawyer traits that you were talking about, and it actually is just it's constantly taking notes and shit.
It's even more crazy than that, though, in Planescape. So, like, not so much in the outer planes that can happen depending on where you are, but in the astral, like, it is extraordinarily likely that your spells are like the spells that you cast per se, and are semi-sentient. Like your fireball might come back to say hi. Also, magic use is highly addictive in the astral. Wizards get Wizards start to get funny if they stay there too long.
They can get high off casting spells.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now, and we'll pick this up. Actually, wait, will we pick this up next week? When are you going on vacation?
I will be here next week. I will be gone the week after.
Okay, so we will pick this up next week?
Oh, wait.
No?
Yeah, well,
Next week's 4th of July.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
I'll be here next week. I'll be here next weekend. The weekend after.
Yeah, so next week is going to be the 7th of July.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here for the 7th. I won't be here the next week. The next Sunday.
Okay, next week then. Got it.
Yep.
All right.